So are we ready to resume, looks like?
We are live again and recording.
Okay, we're back in the open session. Next item is item D, appointment of an interim administrator and an administrator for the 4-year term expiring on January 1, 2027 pursuant to WISTAT section 15.61, parent 1, parent B, and to transmit the appointment of the administrator to the state senate within 7 days. Any thoughts? Don't all speak at once. Commissioner Thompson.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead.
No,
Bob.
I just said I couldn't hear anything.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the situation before us is rather unique, and I thought sharing some of our past is very, very important to evaluate it. And I put it in the context of just the starting point. I think our experience has shown that our unanimous appointment of Megan Wolf, which continues, was absolutely correct at the time. And since she has won national accolades for her expertise as an election official, as a nonpartisan election official. And I think somebody at the press called me and asked me, and I said, you know, the fact that Megan Wolf wants to stay and be the administrator, remain the administrator, is like a true gift to Wisconsin, because she is absolutely, you know, so well qualified. You know, she served as the president of the National Association of State Election Directors. I mean, think about that. She was elected unanimously to serve by election directors in all 50 states. You know, where I grew up, competency and that kind of professional accolade is something that you never lost. There isn't running a business. If I have a lawyer like with those kinds of accolades, this is not someone you even think about asking to leave or asking to resign or, you know, give up the helm, because it's just amazing. She served on the executive committee on the Elections Infrastructure Information and Analysis Center. And I want to remind everybody, when she first took over, you know, we were at the point in time where the Russians were trying to hack our systems nationally. People forget about that. I mean, you know, Putin's got his own problems right now. But if we go back to it, you know, she was one of the first, you know, in the agency to get security clearance from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And she serves as the co-chair of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, CISA Government Coordinating Council, the election sector. You know, she is well respected by our 1,850 clerks or 72 county clerks. She has served as the administrator in the toughest times through a pandemic. I mean, just remarkable. Anybody else that was asked to do that, you know, no one would ask such a person to give up that seat. And to me, she has expressed a desire and a commitment to nonpartisan politics and for the public service and fair and accurate elections. I don't think there is an issue that we have to keep her. And that's a little bit of what I think people need to know about her value to every citizen and every person in this state. So here's what, I don't know what people remember, but before we ever took a vote to appoint her in the first place, and I was the chair at the time, so let me share this, because of this little bit of political history. There was an individual, Michael Haas, super well-respected, dedicated, nonpartisan to elections. And if you recall, he had the first vote for administrator, 6-0. And he did an amazing job. And we voted 6-0, and we thought, of course, the Senate is going to confirm this person because this person has the perfect qualifications. And lo and behold, this agency sent that appointment to the Senate, and they buried Michael Haas. And they did it in such an underhanded and dirty manner that when it came back, this commission, we voted 4-2 to tell the Senate, you can't do that. And Bev Gill was on this vote, and she said, look, you can't ruin a person's integrity. You can't ruin his career. I'm not going to let somebody that's just a vocal partisan, rabid hate monger hurt Michael Haas. And Bev Gill had the courage to stand up to the political partisans. And that gave us the room then to figure out what we were going to do as a commission. And before we put the vote on the table for the commission for Megan Wolf, right, we had a promise from the Senate that she would be confirmed. And that I was the chair at the time. That was the only way we were going to put the nomination on the table, is when we had a promise from the Senate to do the right thing. And you know what? We had 6-0 vote, and the Senate had promised to confirm, and they in fact confirmed. And Megan Wolf is here, and Wisconsin has been the beneficiary. Everybody who votes is a beneficiary of Megan's skill and expertise and her commitment to nonpartisan performance of her duties. On the question sort of on the table generically, the way I see the law, and I bring this up because I think, right, our Supreme Court has said, and somebody will come up with a case name for me. They didn't like what we did. And they said that we should make sure we follow the law. Well, there is a law out there that says Prane, and Prane says we don't have the authority or the ability to reappoint unless there's a vacancy. And we do not have a vacancy. So I don't think there is ripe for the question. I think what we should do today is proclaim how lucky we are to have Megan Wolf and maintain the status quo. She's there in the job. There is no vacancy. There is no ability for us to do anything. And under Prane, she is and remains the servant of the Wisconsin voters and the public. And I don't think we should put a motion on for reappointment, Mr. Chair, until such time as we have a commitment from the Senate that they are going to actually confirm Megan Wolf. Okay, I think that's how it played out last time. And that's how decency and fairness plays out. We should not let Megan's life, her career, her expertise be out there at somebody's whim to just hack away. So we are lucky to have Ms. Wolf. Thank you for your service. And I hope you're here for a long, long time. And Mr. Chair, I don't think we need to do anything today. And certainly we shouldn't ask for a resignation or ask her to leave until we have a commitment from the Senate that they're going to confirm her. And there is, it's crickets over there to the extent that we sense a majority. I mean, last time the leader of the Senate promised to confirm. When we had that promise, we put it on the table, we voted 6-0, and it paid off wonderfully. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Let me just point out, I think the question today, the preliminary question, and it could be the final question today, is whether we take a vote on the reappointment or the appointment of an administrator. I strongly feel that we should take a vote. I understand the Supreme Court has issued this decision in the Prane case. I think that for a variety of reasons, it makes sense to have a vote on an administrator position today. I agree with you that, I think you would agree with me that Megan Wolf is blamed for all manner of fanciful conspiracies that have no basis in fact. For example, we've seen that the same quote unquote experts who were cited by Jill Stein in 2016, claiming that tabulating machines can be hacked via the internet, are cited by today's election deniers, the same ones who attacked Megan Wolf. Politics, as they say, makes strange bedfellows. But what's concerning about these conspiracy theorists is that they're willing to trash the reputations of anyone who's interested in trying to administer elections fairly and honestly. I'm not just talking about our administrator, Megan Wolf, but other commission staff and local clerks, especially clerks who have, many of them have very, not much in the way of to defend themselves. They don't have a Department of Justice. They don't have state capitol police and security. They're not in an office that is that requires a badge to get inside or a key card to get inside. What's even more frustrating about these conspiracy theorists is that they're not really interested in prevailing and winning elections. They're interested in grifting. I was going to mention the situation where one of the losing candidates, the Representative Rantham, was complaining about his election and in last year's primary. And I was set to certify the canvass on August 23rd. The week before, I got calls from his camp saying he wanted to talk to me. Now, he didn't have the ability to petition for a recount, but he was concerned. Both times we had calls scheduled, he canceled. After I certified the election, then we get an email, all of us do, about the urgent need to cancel the canvass. The point was he wasn't interested in actually making a difference. He wasn't interested in actually changing the canvas. He wanted to make a point. He wanted to make someone happy. And so many of these conspiracy theorists will continue to peddle their theories. It's not about winning or preventing fraud. It's about getting publicity or attention. It's about grifting, convincing others to donate to their cause in the same way that Jill Stein did. Again, politics makes strange bedfellows. But what's worst about these candidates, these grifters, is that they are attempting to convince, and often do convince, people of goodwill that there is something wrong with our election process. They are able to convince ordinary citizens that there are problems. I run into these folks all the time. People who I trust, people who I know, who are intelligent folks, but yet they've convinced themselves that elections are not fair, that they're crooked. My concern is we're only going to ramp up. We're only going to give these grifters more ammunition if we have a holdover administrator. I don't think, and again, I'll let Megan speak for herself. I don't think it's wise to have an administrator hold over. You know, as an attorney, we can talk about what makes the most sense from a strategy standpoint. But there are humans involved here. There are people who are going to be criticizing. We're talking about people who are going to be coming to offices, who are going to be angry and use this as a way to raise more money, to inject more hate into the system. And I think it's just a bad idea. Again, you can argue that this is legally correct. I'm not sure I agree with you, but you can argue that. But that's not the point here. The point is that we're only going to incentivize these grifters to raise more money and agitate even more and argue that we're pulling a fast one on the people of Wisconsin. So I think it's unwise to not have a vote on her appointment. I think it's more than a bad look. It's going to create problems for us and for election officials throughout the state. And so for those reasons, I really hope that we can have a vote on the appointment of an administrator for the next term. Commissioner Bostelman.
I was appointed to the Wisconsin Election Commission in May of 2019. I've tried to be the best advocate I can for free, fair elections. Actually, I've done that for a good part of my life as clerk for 24 years, where I provided training for poll workers, municipal clerks, election day training. And I've been a poll worker and I've attended public test. I was on the advisory team that developed the statewide voter registration, and I've always been a Republican and voted in the 2020 election for former President Trump. Today, we're looking at the performance of our administrator, Megan Wolf. We, the commission, have provided guidance and direction to the administrator through the pandemic, as shown by more than 40 meetings in the commission in the year 2020. We've been sued, publicly vilified, criticized by individuals who refuse to believe the 2020 election outcome. Unfortunately, because some refuse to believe recounts and lawsuits that have upheld the 2020 election results, Administrator Wolf continues to be the target as the scapegoat for that people still can't accept the truth. She's requested numerous meetings to seek our guidance, and through very difficult and unprecedented times, we, the commissioners, have reviewed lawsuits, we've conformed with findings, and this criticism of the performance of Administrator Wolf is because of the guidance that we've provided for her, and continues the blame or criticism lies with us as commissioners. I've been a Rotarian for 30 years, and we at Rotarians live by a four-way test. The first question is it the truth? What's being said about Administrator Wolf, of what she's being accused of, is not the truth. And we, the commission, know that because we've lived through it while we've provided direction for Administrator Wolf and her staff. That's the truth, and I will not support a lie, and I'm in support of Administrator Wolf continuing her appointment as administrator.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Marge, that was just outstanding. Just outstanding. I wanted to echo my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues, discussion of Megan's work on behalf of the Elections Commission. She has been not only the recipient of the accolades nationally, as Commissioner Thompson indicated, she has also been attacked by the conspiracy theorists, as Commissioner Bostelman indicated. She's also had threats to her well-being, to her home, to her livelihood, and she has handled them with tremendous aplomb and has guided this agency through one of the most contentious elections. And every review of that election has demonstrated it was accurate, was done properly, And where there have been suggestions of what we can improve, they have been brought to this commission, the 6 of us. And we have implemented what we thought was appropriate, dismissed what we thought was not. And it is our works that speak for the commission. We are going into a new election season that begins in, let's see, 10 months is the April election, where we are going to be one of the states at the forefront. We need Megan's guiding hand, her top secret clearance, her intimate knowledge of our computer systems, which are complex, their security, which is even more complex, and the laws and regulations governing our elections. Right now, the statute we operate under is 15.61 1B, and it reads, if a vacancy occurs, then the commission shall appoint. And the if is a very important clause because the if is what harkens back to the Praying case and what we're talking about in terms of a holdover. There is no vacancy. Vacancies are defined in 17.03 of the statutes, and vacancies include things like a death, a resignation, moving out of state, and so on. We don't have a vacancy. Without a vacancy, we have an administrator, and that administrator continues. And the rabble rousers and the bullies and the people who are going to be angry, I have no time for. This is the law. This is the status we are in. And I'm not prepared to let the people who storm our offices, send emails, post photos of our home, question about our children. I'm not going to let them determine what this, I'm not going to let them determine what I am going to do. It's up to the commission to determine what it does as a body, but their antics are unimpressive to me. And they are not going to affect my decision here. We have an administrator. She's done outstanding work. She will continue in this position unless we remove her, which I have no intention of doing. And I would simply ask that we allow that to occur and move forward with our preparations for the 2024 election. Thank you.
Commissioner Spindell.
What I'm about to say is no different than what I've been speaking about for some time to Republican and conservative groups or the press. Megan Wolf has, in my opinion, not had the best in public relations or in some cases, good advice for herself personally. She has been blamed for many items behind her control and before it took place before her time. And the items from my side that are blaming her rest squarely with some bad precedent policies the Wisconsin Election Commission has inherited from the past or motions by the past and current Wisconsin Election Commission, which have gotten us to the point of a lack of confidence. I was appointed to the commission in October of 2019. And upon joining, I soon learned that any past rulings by the commissioners of the State Election Board, followed by the Government Accountability Board, and then followed by the Wisconsin Election Commission, now require 4 of the 6 commissioner votes to overturn any of these policies. And there's no sunset for any of our decisions unless it's made part of the motion. And during our first Wisconsin Election Commission meeting in 2020, all 6 commissioners agreed to redo the delegation of authority to the staff. This document had been written at the time of the State Election Board when there was really no good email, Zoom, or conference call capabilities. With these new changes to the delegation of authority to the staff, it became clear, as Mark Thompson said and has said, the commissioners run the Wisconsin Election Commission. This was clearly shown where we went from 4 required meetings a year with a few extra appointed in and out to almost 33 in 2020, about 25 in 2021. And from my W-2 I just received for 2022, which shows $100 per meeting, which showed we had about 22 meetings in 2022. So let's take a quick look at 6 of the policies, advice, guidance, et cetera, that our administrator has been blamed for. Ballot harvesting. As I explained to many, ballot harvesting until the recent court decision has been legal in Wisconsin for over 20 years. and as a result of a misplaced comma in the statutes, which has allowed this unfortunate practice to continue. If you were to call up the state election board, the GAB, or even the Wisconsin Election Commission prior to the court ruling and ask, can I bring as many absentee ballots to the clerk's office as I wish? The answer would have been yes. Curing of absentee ballots. Back in 2016, after a long discussion of all 6 commissioners, they all voted unanimously to allow the so-called curing of the absentee ballot envelopes. This is regarding the curing of the absentee ballot witness address. Megan reported what the commissioners passed as the Wisconsin Election Commission policy. What about the national standard ballot applications coming from out-of-state organizations to registered voters in the state in an improper legal format? This has been going on, as Megan likes to say, since she's been in 4th grade. She spoke against the practice publicly, but when the Republicans currently on the commission voted to stop this practice, they could not get one of the 3 Democrat commissioners to agree to stop this practice. What about the very important and well-done legislative audit report that pointed out some 30 items that needed to be improved or fixed? The commissioners held a 14-hour meeting to discuss each and every one of these items, and all of these agreements among the commissioners was reached on all but 3 or 4 of them. And the staff was given the appropriate guidance. As far as I know, but I'm not sure, these items have been fixed, except of course, where the 4 commissioners could not agree upon an item and therefore cannot give the appropriate guidance to the staff. In addition, there were some recommendations for administrative rule changes. Either we cannot get 4 votes on those, or they were delayed somewhere else in the complicated rulemaking process. What about the famous Racine special voting deputy situation starting in March of 2020, when the pandemic basically was a concern to many? While an early March meeting, all 6 commissioners, including me, voted to not continue with this very fine and important program, the special voting deputies, even though the staff, Megan, and had recommended that we continue that. In future meetings on this subject, based upon the very solid advice of an expert MD with a Harvard master degree in public health, it was very obvious to me, as I relayed to the commissioners at each subsequent meeting, we could continue with a special voting deputy program during the pandemic by making some adjustments. However, none of these of my 5 colleagues would budge. And what about Eric? Basically a good and reliable and very accurate system to indicate which voters have moved. Unfortunately, here in Wisconsin, all of its teeth have been pulled out by the Wisconsin Election Commission votes, and then followed by the commissioners caving in on a court case. What about responsiveness to me? Megan has been very, very responsive to me in answering questions, providing information, and has involved herself personally in trying to solve problems brought into her by me, a lot by Republicans, but other citizens as well. And I consider this to be an extremely important to me to be able to do my job. I am extremely concerned about the unanswered potential problems with the voter registration list. As we know, Republicans and Democrats throughout our American political history have had 2 distinct views on how the registration list could be handled and maintained. Democrats like very bloated lists, Republicans like clean lists. I will not have confidence in these registration lists until we have a major nonpartisan and professional independent audit to address the many problems and questions that have been raised. Some of the problems have been answered satisfactorily, many have not, and led to the many concerns out there today. Hopefully, the next administrator, Megan, or someone else, will make this a major priority, even though it will be very difficult, I believe, to get the Democratic commissioners to agree there may be some problems with the list. In conclusion, I do want to say that since the 2020 election, many very positive steps have been achieved for the 2022 November elections beyond, because of recent court judicial determinations brought about by the Republican Party and the state legislature, and also as well as several Wisconsin Election Commission votes or non-votes. Some of these are Wisconsin Election Commission automatically sending absentee ballot applications to all registered voters. It was done in 2020. It was not done in 2022. The special voting deputy program for nursing homes is back in full force and practice. There's no curing of the absentee ballot witness addresses. There's no more ballot harvesting. There's no more drop boxes or Madison Democracy in the Park. We're testing twice as many. Wisconsin Election Commission is testing twice as many voting machines as we have in the past. Still up for a question, however, is the huge amount of money which came into the state in 2020 to allow participation in the running of elections, but not in 2022. In 2024, who knows? So why have I said in the past, I'm not voting for Megan for another 4-year step? She, in my opinion, has not achieved or maintained the confidence of Republicans and conservatives. Remember, this state is evenly divided between Republicans and Democrat voters, 50-50. All this may not have been her fault, but it's still there. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? We have no motion pending.
I'll make a motion that Megan be reconfirmed as administrator for the next 4 years.
That's the motion on item D.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Bostrom. Any further debate on the motion?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Sure.
I'm not a technical Roberts rules person. But it seems to me that despite our desire to take an action, unless there is a vacancy, we do not have the ability to do that. And so to the extent that Mr. Spindell has made this motion, which seems to me a little disjointed, because if I heard him talk, he said he didn't think she should serve, but he moved for her to serve. So I'm confused just by that fact alone. But I don't think we have the ability under the current law to reappoint because there is no vacancy. And I think there's the bigger question is, and this is one of the structure and integrity of the institution itself. The last time we took a vote that required a Senate confirmation, here there's no vacancy, we can't even do it. But it implies, Mr. Spindell's motion implies that somehow the Senate gets to speak to this issue. If we're really, as an agency, asking the Senate to speak to it, I think we have to go back and look at our historical practice. The last time we were successful on it is when the Senate had promised to confirm. And so absent a promise from the Senate to confirm Megan Wolf, I don't think we should even play this game. Okay, when the law says we don't have a vacancy and we don't have the power to do it. So I don't know if the motion is even proper. That's a Robert's rules thing, and I don't know who we get to address that.
Well, the chair is biased, I guess, because I put it on the agenda. I thought it was biased. I thought it was appropriate, even in light of all the discussions we've had about the authority of the commission. It still remains my opinion that the commission has the authority to entertain Commissioner Spindell's motion.
And the reason I don't think we have it, because there has to be a vacancy before we can ask for it. Because right now she is the administrator, and if I heard carefully what everybody said, other than at least of those that have vocalized it, I've heard virtually unanimous consent that Megan Wolf is and should remain at the helm. And she should. And on this motion, I can't agree with the motion as framed, especially by Mr. Spindell, who said he's going to vote against the motion that he makes. Okay, because that itself is a confusing kind of act. So
Well,
I-
as
I
far as I
don't
know, go ahead. There's nothing in Robert's Rules of Order that says that the maker of the motion has to vote for the motion. If you, I mean, my personal opinion is if you want her to continue, you should vote aye on the motion. But
yeah, I don't think we have jurisdiction to do that. I think she is the administrator, and by me not voting or opposing the motion, she is the administrator. And I don't think we should create the illusion that we think that the Senate has the ability to confirm or not confirm, because there is no vacancy. And as a practical matter, as a political matter, I don't think the chair of this agency should risk that kind of vote without obtaining prior consent of the Senate to confirm. That's what we did before, and that's how we maintain the stability. And I don't think we should turn somebody's dedication to the public service and throw it out there for the wolves, the political wolves. I don't think that's good public policy.
I appreciate the efforts that you undertook in 2018 to reach an agreement. But I remember Schoolhouse Rock and how a bill becomes a law and how an appointment gets confirmed. The appointing authority doesn't get to clear it with the Senate first before they appoint. That's not the way it works. It may work in certain circumstances, but I think it's the rare appointing authority that has the ability to get consent of the Senate before they appoint someone. And so I appreciate that. I think that, again, circumstances may have been such in 2018 that it worked. I don't think that's going to happen today. So, but anyway, is there further discussion on the motion before we take a roll call? Commissioner Spindell.
Mr. Chairman, I've indicated for some time, including today, I would be voting against Megan's reappointment. However, in the situation we are in now, I believe it's my duty to defer to the will of the Wisconsin Senate, which will take up a required confirmation. They are the elected representatives. I'm not. I'm just an appointed official. Therefore, I will change my vote to a yes, so that this matter may be resolved rather than festering through court cases, et cetera, for the next couple of years, which will undoubtedly hurt the election process in Wisconsin over this period of time.
Bob, did someone send that to you? You just read it. It sounds like it was written.
Let's not
know,
feeling the motives of other members.
All the stuff that I write, people accuse me of getting it from other places. I've been doing this stuff a long time. I know how to write stuff.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? We have a motion.
I agree with Commissioner Thompson that we don't have jurisdiction in this case. There is no vacancy. The law specifically says if a vacancy occurs. I don't think we can ignore that language. I don't think it's incumbent on us to try to make it into something it is not. Crane points us to 17.03, which defines a vacancy. We do not have one. It is my intention, I will abstain from this vote. And I want to make clear why I am abstaining. I'm abstaining because we don't have jurisdiction to do this. And while I could vote no, I would not want that vote to be interpreted as in any way implying that I am not fully in support of Administrator Wolf and her continued work on behalf of the commission. So I will be abstaining from that vote accordingly.
Any further discussion? Motion. Commissioner Boston.
I am not a lawyer. I understand what Commissioner Jacobs is saying. I think it's important that those of us who believe that in the support of Megan would vote in favor of her appointment. I will vote yes, not because of the same reason Bob is doing, but because I believe that she's the best person to lead the commission going forward.
Commissioner Thompson.
I agree 100% with you, Marge, that Megan Wolf is the correct person to do it. So then the issue is no, the Supreme Court said that we had to follow the law. And Crane says that there is no vacancy, so we do not have the ability to vote. And to vote yes on this would be to imply that the Senate has an ability, or that we have the ability to do it. I mean, we could pass a separate motion, say we fully support Megan Wolf's continuing in the role. You know, I would, you know, what I would prefer, I'd prefer that the Senate do what they did last time. Look, promise to confirm Megan Wolf and let's end that kind of thing. But I don't think a yes on this, we don't have the power to do it. Two, I think it sends the wrong message, because it implies that we have power that we don't. So, you know, I have to abstain on this as well, because we do not have the authority to do that, and we should not let the Senate have any view that they have some right to come in and confirm or deny her the position.
Commissioner Zarneski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I would agree with Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Jacobs that we do not have the authority to do this, given the court decision by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And therefore, I think I too will abstain from voting on this, even though that I think that Administrator Wolf is more than qualified to remain in her current position and should remain in that position. And I guess my question would be to the commission, what stops us at this point from asking the Senate if they would confirm her if we put it forward?
Well, you can write a letter. It's not on the agenda today. Two members can call a commission meeting if they want for any purpose. I'm not sure I'm inclined to do that as the chair, but I also don't think it's a good idea to squelch the minority. One of my questions for the three commissioners who are thinking about abstaining. And again, we've obviously had an opportunity to talk to council about the effects of different actions or inactions that the commission may take. I guess I'd ask you to think hard about a vote in which there is a vote and the commission fails to appoint Administrator Wolf to the new term. What impact does that have? Not on for public consumption, not for the benefit of the state Senate or for the conspiracy theorists. What effect does that have for the inevitable court case that's going to be coming along?
Can you be more specific about your concern?
Well, my concern is that there's a motion. I think it sounds like from everyone that there's at least 4 votes to appoint Commissioner Wolf for the term that begins on July 1st of this year. And yet the commission is not going to do that. The commission is going to have that vote likely will fail because it will not garner 4 votes. There'll be 3 abstentions, right? And so is that interpreted by some court as as a rejection of her appointment for the next term. We know that a lot of this depends on the definition of vacancy, or how you consider a vacancy, the word vacancy used in our statute. And my concern is that if you're thinking that praying is the way to go, I don't think it is the way to go. I don't think she'll rely on that. What impact will that have? I don't know. Commissioner Thompson.
I think it's a good question. But I think what we've learned from the courts have said you only have the power to do what you can. And if there isn't a vacancy, we don't have the right to reappoint. The law is clear that the current confirmed administrator remains in that post until you can notice up, Chairman, a meeting to remove her. If we removed her, then there would be a vacancy. I don't hear anybody other than Mr. Spindell having any interest in removing her. So I think for the courts out there, they know that there has to be a properly noticed motion to remove. And this was not, right, as I think the chair was very clear in its public notice, it was not noticed for a motion to remove. And we cannot remove her unless a properly noticed motion. So the fact that I may abstain has nothing to do with the removal, because this is not indicative of a removal. That has to be separately noticed, separately voted on. And so it's very clear. It's very clear that that my abstention, assuming that others are going to abstain too, on the basis that we don't have jurisdiction to hear the current motion because there is no vacancy. On this record, publicly, no court could reasonably conclude that we voted to remove her. They would have to make up stuff. Now, you're right, there is a risk that a court would do that. So but our risk in voting is that we don't have the power to do it. Maybe the Supreme Court will reverse. Maybe the Supreme Court will say praying is not it, and then we'll have to go back and figure out where we're at. But to me, the key issue here is the long-term stability of this agency and the staff and all its clerks. And I think maintaining and leaving Megan Wolf at the helm is the best thing for Wisconsin. And if somebody wants to sue and attack that decision and praying and ask it to be reversed, that's their prerogative, and we can't stop that. But I think, it's clear that Marge is voting to approve because she thinks Megan Wolf should be there. I'm abstaining because I think Megan Wolf should be there. Okay, I don't think we have the power to do it. So Marge and I disagree on, the tactical, but what we have fundamental agreement on is that Megan Wolf is the best person to run our agency. And that's why I'm abstaining, because I will take my shots with the court rather than at the Senate.
Well, to tell you the truth, I've been very torn about this issue, about the Megan's appointment, or Commissioner Wolf's appointment. And I, going back to 2016, I made the motion. You seconded the motion to appoint Mike Haas. The commission was praised. Republicans and Democrats both said, good idea, good job. I think one politician said, stroke of genius. But then 18 months later, you had the Attorney General report come out, and times changed. It became controversial. I agree with Commissioner Spindell has said about the unfair criticisms of Administrator Wolf. I mean, I've not talked with him about the merits of this, but his notes were very similar to mine about the drop boxes and the guidance that the commission provided and that Administrator Wolf did not do on her own, but yet she is roundly criticized for it. And it is, in many respects, much of the criticism, certainly by the grifters who are criticizing her, it's not rational. It's not based in fact. And since I've become on the commission, I've had the pleasure of joining Administrator Wolf as the target of a lot of these attacks. I mean, I get almost every other day, there's a tweet complaining about me as being, calling me blind Don Millis and all these things and accusing me of breaking the law. And of course, I try not to bring, to elevate these criticisms, and I probably shouldn't be talking about it now. But I certainly responded. I said, if I've broken the law, sue me. And no one sued me yet. So I'm very frustrated by this. And part of my concern was, does it make sense? As good a job as Administrator Wolf has done in carrying out the directions of the commission, does it make sense to continue? I mean, it's like, I look back at history, Winston Churchill was unfairly criticized for the failure of the Gallipoli campaign, and yet he was forced to resign as First Lord of the Admiralty because that's just the way it was. Not fair, and a lot of this is not fair. I guess as I weighed this, I'm probably inclined to vote for the motion because I think that's the proper order. That's what the agency is called to do. On July 1st, I believe there will be a vacancy. I think that we will be, if we rely on Prane, that is just not only a bad look, it is going to just give more ammunition to those people who hate the commission and want to get rid of it. I'm very torn about this. I understand, sometimes people become a lightning rod. Fairness has nothing to do with it, very little to do with it. But at this point, I think that it behooves the commission to follow the regular order, to move this give the Senate a chance to decide it one way or the other. I know that the motion is probably going to fail because we've already got 3 people announcing their abstention. So, Commissioner Spindell, you had your hand up.
Well, I just wanted to say, and you covered a lot of this, but we have 3 attorneys that are on the commission. And each and every attorney relies on disagreements between parties for their profession. And so I agree with, that Mark has his point of view, Don has his point of view, Annie has her point of view. But still, you go to court and the lawyers and whatever, and the judge work it out. So it could be that Mark is absolutely right, or it could be that Mark is absolutely wrong. But I just wanted to throw in that it's not a slam dunk in any case. And so that's pretty much what I just wanted to add.
Any further debate on the question? Okay, let me call the roll. Commissioner Jacobs,
I abstain from the vote.
Mr. Spindell,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Bostelman,
Aye.
Commissioner Zarneski.
Abstain.
Chair votes aye. Motion fails 3 votes to 0 nays and 3 abstentions. If there's no further business before the commission, there's a motion to adjourn.
Wait, I'd like to just say one thing. I'd like to congratulate Megan Wolf and wish her years of success. And I look forward to working for you. And I am hoping that the courts follow the precedent that they laid out in Prane, and they leave you there until we vote to remove you, which we can do at any point in time with a majority. And that is the check, right? That's not going to happen because there isn't a majority here that would remove you themselves. And certainly, I'm not going to let the Senate do something that we wouldn't do ourselves. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for that comment.
Any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Spindell, seconded by Commissioner Bostelman. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Zarneski.
Aye.
Jacobs,
Aye.
Spindell,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye,
Bostelman,
Aye.
chair votes aye.
happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah.